Negativity is like a slow poison that seeps into our minds without us realizing it. It can come from anywhere in the news, social networks, people we interact with, and even from our own thoughts. If we don't control it, it can become a monster that paralyzes us, that makes us see the world as a dark and hopeless place, that fills us with fear of complaints of envy and frustration. But you know what doesn't have to be that way. We are not condemned to live in a constant state of negativity. There are ways to free ourselves from that burden and regain control of our lives, and this is where Stoicism has a lot to teach us. The Stoics for more than 2,000 years already knew that the human mind is a battlefield. They knew that negative thoughts can destroy us if we don't learn to master them. That's why they developed practical strategies to stay calm, find inner peace, and live a life free of mental toxicity. And best of all, these strategies are still just as effective today. In this video, I am going to share with you 13 simple but powerful strategies based on Stoicism to eliminate negativity from your life. And when I say eliminate, I don't mean make all problems disappear or live in a bubble of artificial happiness number. I mean to develop a strong mindset that does not let itself be dragged by toxic thoughts, that learns to see things from a wiser perspective, and that finds tranquility even in the midst of chaos. Before I start, I want to ask you something. Comment here below one of the phrases or ideas that most impact you in this video. Can be a strategy one, or something that you think can help someone else. Sometimes a single sentence can be just what someone else needs to read to change their day. And of course, if you like this content, support me by liking it, subscribing, and activating the bell. That helps me to continue creating videos that add value to you. First, learn to differentiate what you can control and what you can't among all the things in the world. Some depend on us and some don't. Epictetus. Look, one of the biggest sources of negativity in anyone's life is worrying about things that are completely out of their control. Has happened to you? You get up, check your phone, and you come across disastrous news, problems that don't even affect you directly, but somehow fill you with anxiety. Or maybe you worry about what others think of you in case someone responded in a bad way, in case it is going to rain just when you had plans, and at the end of the day you end up mentally exhausted, loaded with stress and frustration for things that you could not change anyway. This is where the Stoics give us one of the most powerful teachings. Learn to differentiate what you can control from what you do not. Say, of course, in life there are two types of things: those that depend on you and those that don't. If something doesn't depend on you, let it go. Don't waste energy worrying about things that are out of your reach. How do we apply this in daily life? That you can keep stable, fast sail, manage the sails, and sail wisely. That is life. You cannot escape storms. However, you can choose how to respond to them. Most people do the opposite. They spend their life worrying about things they cannot control and disregard what they can, thereby altering their attitude, their choices, their way of thinking, and then they wonder why they feel so mentally tired. The Stoic secret to eradicating negativity is to concentrate only on what relies on you. Everything else will pass. Ask yourself, this is within my control. Try it the next time you feel negative is consuming you. Should the response come out as no, let it go. You will start to live with greater peace as your mind releases a big weight. 2. Manage your inner conversation. What should you tell yourself? Define your reality. The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. Marcus Aurelius. Here is a brutal truth. You are the first responsible for the negativity in your life. It is not your boss. It is not your family. It is not social networks, nor the government, nor the weather. It is what you say to yourself every day. It is the way in which you interpret what's going on around you. Think about this. Two people can go through the same situation, but one moves forward with determination and the other sinks into despair. Why? Because what you say to yourself in your head can be your biggest source of motivation or your worst enemy. Look, the human mind has a natural tendency to hold on to the negative. It's a survival mechanism of our brain. It is programmed to detect dangers and avoid suffering. But in modern life that translates into a toxic internal dialogue. I am not enough. I am sure that I will fail. Everything goes wrong. Nothing will change. And so, without realizing it, you poison yourself. Stoicism tells us that the secret to eliminating negativity is to control what we do, to consciously choose what ideas we let into our, because if you let negativity govern your self-talk, then everything in your life will be tinged with pessimism, frustration, and fear. How do we apply this in daily life? Be conscious of what you say to yourself. Start to pay attention to your ideas when you find yourself negatively speaking to yourself. I am exaggerating. What I am saying is factual. Change your mental story from one of telling yourself, I can't manage it. This changes the sentence, oh, it's not easy, but I'm going to find a way. It seems like a small thing, but it completely changes how you feel and act. Don't believe everything you think. Just because you have a negative thought doesn't mean it's real. Learning to separate useless thoughts from valuable ones is key to living with less negativity. Imagine you have an inner gardener. If you let that gardener water negative thoughts every day, sooner or later, your mind will be filled with weeds. But if you decide to feed more rational and constructive thoughts, your mindset will change. The next time you catch yourself saying something negative, stop, ask, will a friend help me get out of this if they told me the same thing? If the answer is no, then it's time to change the internal dialogue. Because remember what Marcus Aurelius said, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, and if you don't take care of the quality of what you think, negativity will always win. You third party, do not react impulsively. Learn to pause before responding. If something external causes you distress, it is not the event itself what disturbs you, but your judgment about it, and you have the power to change that judgment right now. Aurelio Marco, think about it. Well, how many times have you gotten into trouble simply by reacting without thinking? Someone tells you something you don't like, and before you know it, you are already yelling, arguing, or feeling bad. Or you read a comment on social networks, and immediately the need to respond with anger, or something unexpected happens in your day, and without even analyzing it, you are already frustrated, complaining, and letting your humor ruin your mood. Stoicism teaches us that immediate reaction is the enemy of mental clarity. When you react automatically without thinking, you almost always end up making bad decisions, saying things you later regret, or allowing passing emotions to control your life. The trick is to pause, learn to take a step back before acting, before responding, before letting a negative emotion control you. How we apply this in daily life? Pause before reacting. When something provokes you a negative reaction, don't respond immediately. Breathe for a count of 3. Ask yourself how my best version would respond. Question your emotion instead of just feeling anger, frustration, or sadness. Observe it. Ask why I feel this way. It's worth this emotion. Many times you will realize that it is not as serious as it seemed. Practice self-control in small things. A good Stoic exercise is to test yourself with everyday situations. For example, when someone interrupts you in a conversation, instead of annoying you, just observe and choose not to react badly. Imagine that life is like a game of chess. If you move the pieces impulsively, without strategy, you risk losing. But if you take your time to analyze every move before acting, you become a wiser, more serene, and more unstoppable player. The Stoics knew this and practiced it constantly. It is not about suppressing the emotions, but not letting them dominate you and ruin your peace of mind. Because at the end of the day, the problem is not what happens to you, but how you decide to interpret it and respond to it. So the next time something causes you a negative reaction, stop, breathe, analyze. Don't let impulsivity get the better of you. Surround yourself with people who elevate your mentality. Avoids those who constantly complain, because their poison is contagious. Sika, now tell me something. Have you ever noticed how your mood changes depending on the people you spend time with? There are people you talk to, and after the conversation you feel inspired, motivated, wanting to do something positive in your life. But there are also people who seem to absorb all your energy, who only know how to complain, criticize, and see the negative side of everything. The Stoics knew that the environment shapes the mind, and this is key. If you really want to eliminate negativity from your life, you have to choose well who you surround yourself with. If you spend too much time with toxic, negative, and pessimistic people, no matter how strong you think you are, their mentality will be it's going to hit you. It's like you're in a room full of smoke. Even if you don't smoke, you're going to end up smelling like cigarettes. How do we explain this in daily life? Do an analysis of your environment. Who are the 5 people you interact with the most? Add or subtract from you. If most of them spend their time complaining, criticizing, and seeing problems in everything, it's time to rethink who you invest your time with. Be inspired. Surround yourself with people who have a strong mindset. who face problems with determination, who talk about ideas instead of complaining about how difficult everything is. If you can't stay away from negative people, set boundaries. Sometimes you can't avoid being around certain people, family, co-workers, but you can choose how much impact you allow them to have on you. Don't get caught up in toxic conversations. Change the subject or just learn to ignore what doesn't bring anything good. Seneca was right. And he is contagious, but so is a strong mindset, serenity, and a positive outlook on life. So choose well who you share your time with, because those people are influencing your way of thinking, whether you want it or not. 5. Don't take things personally. We blame others for our ills when we are ignorant in ourselves, when we begin to learn, and no one when we are wise. Pito here is an uncomfortable truth. Most of the things that affect you have nothing to do with you. But our mind, in its eagerness to be the center of the universe, makes us take everything as a personal attack. Think about this. Someone responds to you with a bad attitude and you feel offended. A friend does not write to you for days and you assume that he doesn't care about you anymore. Your boss doesn't congratulate you on a good job and you think he doesn't value your effort. Someone ignores you on the street and you think it was intentional. But what if I told you that none of that has anything to do with you? That maybe the person who answered you badly had a bad day, that your friend is just busy, that your boss is distracted by other problems than the person who didn't greet you, didn't even see you. Negativity feeds on misinterpretations, and this is where Stoicism gives us one of the most powerful tools. Stop taking everything personally, because 99% of the time what others do or say has more to do with their own internal struggles than with you. How we apply this in daily life. Change perspective. Instead of reacting with anger or sadness, ask yourself, and if this has nothing to do with me, and if this person is simply having a bad day, don't look for hidden meanings where they don't. There are sometimes things are what they are. You don't need to analyze every gesture, every message, every silence. Don't make a casual comment a problem that only exists in your mind. Learn to let go if someone acts rude or unfair. That speaks more from them than from you. Do not carry the weight of negative emotions for something that deep down has no real importance. Here is a Stoic exercise that you can do every time something bothers you. Pause and ask yourself if it is really worth it to affect you. Most of the time you will realize that you do not imagine that you have an invisible shield when someone acts in a bad way or says something hurtful to you. That shield makes words or actions bounce instead of digging into you. It doesn't mean that it makes you insensitive, but that you learn to separate what really matters from what doesn't deserve your energy. Because at the end of the day, wasting time taking everything personal is like walking through life with an open wound, letting any small touch hurt you. But if you strengthen your mind, if you learn to let go of what is not worth it, you will notice that you suddenly feel lighter, with more peace and with less negativity. 6. Practice indifference to what is not worth it. If you are ever disturbed by something external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your opinion of it, and you have the power to change that opinion at any time. Marcus Aurelius here. I am going to let you know a truth that could change your life. Most of the things that bother you do not deserve your attention. As simple as that. But the problem is that we hold on to them, analyze them, turn them over, and end up feeding the negativity in our own mind. Think about this. A stranger on the internet leaves you a rude comment. Someone gets into your lane without putting the direction. A colleague takes credit for something you did, cancels a plan at the last minute, and you feel that you are not valued. And what do? You get angry, frustrate you, your ego is wasted, you spend minutes, hours, even days, thinking about something that you shouldn't really care about. The Stoics had a brutally effective solution for this. Practice indifference to what is not worth it. In other words, learn to ignore the insignificant and reserve your mental energy only for what really matters. How we apply this in daily life. Question whether something really deserves your energy. Every time something bothers you, ask yourself, this is going to matter in a week, within a month, in a year? If the answer is no, then let it go. Don't feed negativity. If you get caught up in useless arguments, if you let the comments of the others define your mood, you are giving away your power. Learn to give as little importance as possible to irrelevant things. Change your focus. Instead of wasting your energy on what you cannot control or on what does not bring anything positive, redirect your attention to what does make you grow. You cannot stop someone from being rude to you, but you can choose not to let that ruin your day. I leave a mental image. Imagine that your mind is a fortress. You would let anyone in just because they knock on the door. Not true. So why do you let any comment, any minor situation, any irrelevant person have access to your peace of mind? Defend your mental space as firmly as you would protect your house. Practice Stoic indifference does not mean that you don't care about anything, but that you learn to distinguish between what is worth grief and what is just background noise. Is like learning to see life with a filter. The important thing happens, the rest you let go effortlessly. Because at the end of the day, the true mental strength is not in fighting every battle, but in knowing which battles are not even worth your attention. 7. Focus on gratitude. Instead of complaining, it is not happiness that makes us grateful, but gratitude what makes us happy. Epictetus. Here you go. One knows that if you apply it, it can change your life completely. Negativity and gratitude cannot coexist in the same mind at the same time. It's like light and darkness. When you turn on a light in a room, the darkness disappears. Well, the same thing happens with your mindset. When you start focusing on what you have, on what goes well, where it really matters, negativity loses its power over you. But here's the problem. Most people live in automatic complaint mode. They complain about traffic, they complain about the weather, they complain about their jobs, they complain about what they have and what they don't have. They complain about people, about their government, about their partner, about their family, everything. And the worst mistake you can make is believing that you're complaining, because your life is hard to bear. You're complaining because you've trained your mind to see the negative before the positive, and the more you do it, the harder it becomes to get out of that mental pattern. The Stoics were clear about it. Gratitude is a tool of power. It's not just a nice feeling, it's a shield against negativity, because when you take the time to recognize the good that there is in your life, you train your mind to focus on abundance instead of lack, on solutions instead of problems, on opportunities instead of difficulties. How do we apply this in daily life? Do an exercise in gratitude every morning before you get up. Think of 3 things you are grateful for. They don't have to be big things. It can be your health, the fact of having a roof over your head, a valuable friendship, just being alive. When you find yourself complaining, change it to gratitude. For example, if you complain that you have to go to work, change your focus. I have a job that allows me to have an income. If you complain about traffic, think, I have a means of transportation. It seems like a small change, but it transforms the way you experience life. Write a gratitude journal every night before you sleep. Write down 3 good things that happen to you in the day. They can be simple things like a meal you enjoyed, a pleasant conversation, or a quiet moment. This habit will train your mind to focus on the positive automatically. Imagine that negativity is like water in a swimming pool and gratitude is a sponge. Every time you express gratitude, you absorb a little of that water until one day you give yourself realize that the pool has almost completely emptied. Because here is the key. You don't need your life to be perfect to be grateful. You need to be grateful to start seeing your life in a more positive way. When you start living from gratitude, something magical happens. Small things stop bothering you. Worries lose strength and life begins to feel lighter, and not because the problems disappear, but because your way of dealing with them changes completely. 8. Master the art of patience. Negativity comes from everything being. Nothing big is created immediately, nor is a fig tree or a grape. If you tell me you want a fig tree first, let time do its work. Let it grow, bloom, and ripen. Epictetus. Here is a truth that few people want to hear. Impatience is one of the greatest sources of frustration and negativity in life. We want quick results. We want everything to happen our way and in our time, and when things don't move forward as we expect, we get stressed, angry, filled with anxiety, and even give up early. But if you really want to eliminate negativity from your life, you have to learn to be patient, because most good things take time. Strong relationships, professional success, wisdom, personal growth, everything that is worthwhile requires persistence, perseverance, and patience. How we apply this in daily life. Accept that progress is a process, not an instantaneous event. Nothing valuable. It is built overnight. The Stoics understood that the road to any goal is long and full of obstacles. Do not get frustrated because things do not happen fast. Be grateful because you are being taught something in the process. Do not fight against time. Cooperate with it. Instead of complaining that something is taking too long, ask yourself, how can I take advantage of this moment to improve? Maybe that wait is teaching you patience, resilience, or a lesson that you have not yet seen. Stop comparing your process with that of others. Impatience often comes from looking sideways and feeling that others are moving faster, but each person has their own rhythm, their own struggles, and their own path. Your only competition is imagine that you are planting a tree. No matter how much you rush or how many times you shout, it grows faster. Zania, the tree will take its time. If you water it and take care of it patiently, it will eventually grow strong and bear fruit. But if you despair and pull it out before its time, you will never see its true potential. Life works the same. Negativity grows when we resist the natural rhythm of things, but when you learn to flow, when you accept that everything has its time, anxiety and frustration disappear. So the next time you feel that something is taking too long, breathe and remember the words of Epictetus: nothing great is created immediately. 9. Don't pursue perfection. The search for the perfect fills you with negativity. Don't waste what you have wishing for what you don't have. Remember that what you now have was what you have now. How do we apply this in daily life? Change your perfection mentality by progress mentality. You don't have to do something perfect for it to have value. If you wait for everything to be perfect, you will never start anything. Learn to accept mistakes as part of the path. Every mistake you make is not a failure, but an opportunity to learn. The Stoics understood that life is trial and error. Do not punish yourself for stumbling. Get up and move forward. Stop comparing yourself with others. Many sometimes the search for perfection comes because we compare ourselves with other people, but what you see on social networks or in the lives of others is not the complete reality. Focus on your own growth. Look at life is like a work of art. It's not about each brushstroke being perfect, but about the whole having meaning and value. Mistakes, imperfections, unexpected changes, all that is what makes your story unique. So stop chasing perfection. You don't need everything to be perfect to be happy. You just need to learn to value what you have and move forward without fear of error. 10. Learn to let go of what you can't change. If you are disturbed by something external, the pain does not come from the thing itself, but from your interpretation of it, and you have the power to change that interpretation at any time. Aurelius. Here comes one of the liberating teachings of Stoicism. Learning to let go of what you can't change. Think about it. How many times have you spent your energy worrying about things that have already happened or that are out of your control? Maybe you keep thinking about an argument you had weeks ago. You still resent something someone did to you, or you can't stop thinking about a missed opportunity, and all this, instead of helping you, it just burdens you with negativity. The problem is that most people live trapped in the past or anxiety about the future without realizing that no matter how much you think about it, what's out of your control will remain out of your control. And this is where Stoicism gives us a brutal but effective solution. Stop fighting the inevitable and learn to let go. How do we apply this in daily life? When something disturbs you, ask yourself, can I do something to change this? If the answer is yes, then act on what you can do. If the answer is no, then let go. There's no point in continuing to wear yourself down over something you can't control. Do a mental liberation exercise. If you realize that you're obsessed with something you can't change, write down on a sheet of paper everything you can do. You worry and then break it or burn it carefully. Of course, this symbolic act helps your mind to really let go. Train your mind to accept what it is. Accepting, it doesn't mean resigning. It means acknowledging reality without holding on to the suffering it causes. Repeat this Stoic mantra. When you feel negativity get you, I did what I could, now I let it go. Look, life, it's like a river. If you try to swim against the current, it will exhaust you and you won't get anywhere. But if you learn to flow, if you accept that some things just are the way they are, you will live with more peace. So the next time you feel that something weighs you too much, remember what you can't change doesn't deserve your suffering. Let go, release, keep going. 11. Don't seek validation from others. Why do you care about others? If you did the right thing, you wouldn't need approval of no one. Marcus Aurelius. Now tell me the truth. How many times have you stopped doing something for fear of what others will say? We live in a world where the opinion of others weighs too much. We want to be accepted, we want to be validated, we want others to approve our decisions, and when they don't, we feel insecure, rejected, or even indignant. But here comes the key question. Why your peace of mind should depend on what you say. External judgment, if you have, of course, what you are doing is good for you and does not harm anyone. Move forward without waiting for applause. Marcus Aurelius said it well, if you do the right thing, validation is irrelevant. Remember that people will always talk no matter what you do. How many artists, leaders, or philosophers have been criticized in their time and then valued? Not of it is that the opinion of others dictates your life. Learn to trust your own judgment. Look, The need for validation is like a golden cage. It looks pretty because it gives you the illusion of acceptance, but in reality it limits you. It prevents you from flying and makes you depend on external approval to feel good. If you really want to eliminate negativity from your life, stop measuring your value based on what others think. Do what you think is right and move on, because at the end of the day, the only validation that really matters is yours. 12. Master your emotions before they dominate you. You can't control what happens, but you can control how you react to it. Epictetus here is one of the reasons why negativity takes over many people. They don't know how to control their emotions, so their emotions end up controlling them. How many times have you said something about it that you later regretted because you were upset? How many times a small problem ruined your whole day simply because you let yourself be carried away by frustration? How many times have you felt that a negative emotion consumes you and you don't know how to handle it? Most people go through life like ships without a rudder, letting themselves be carried away by the emotional storm of each day. But the Stoics understood something key. The real strength is not in avoiding the emotions, but in learning to manage them. How we apply this in daily life. Not react immediately when an intense emotion appears. If something makes you angry, if you feel anxiety, if you are overcome by sadness, pause. Do not make decisions when you are trapped in an intense emotion. Wait, breathe, let the storm pass. Learn to observe your emotions without letting them control you. Instead of saying I am angry, say I am feeling anger in this moment. Small change, big difference. This helps you to see emotion as something temporary, not as part of your identity. Use reason as your anchor. Ask yourself, this emotion is helping me or anger is sinking me? Uncontrollable destroys anxiety. Uncontrollable paralyzes fear. Uncontrolled, it limits, but when you manage them intelligently, they can be tools to learn and grow. Imagine that your mind is a wild horse. If you tame it, takes you where you want to go. If you leave it uncontrolled, it drags you down and makes you fall. Mastering your emotions does not mean repressing them. It means learning to use them in your benefit instead of allowing them to use your life against you. So the next time you feel a strong negative emotion, stop, analyze it, and decide how to respond, because there is the real power in being the owner of yourself instead of a slave to what you feel. 13. Reduce your exposure to external negativity. If you want to improve, move away from the crowd, not because others are bad, but because they tend to distract yourself from your purpose. Epictetus here is an uncomfortable truth. Negativity is not only born within you, it also comes from what you consume daily. And no, I'm not talking about food, but about what you put in your mind. News full of tragedies and chaos, social networks full of hate, envy, and superficiality, people who only complain, criticize, and see the worst in everything. The question is, if you constantly surround yourself with negativity, how do you expect your mind to be positive? Look at the mind is like a sponge. Absorb what you give it. If all you consume is pessimism, drama, and complaining, you're going to end up seeing life the same way the Stoics understood it centuries ago. You have to protect your mind like you protect your body. You wouldn't let someone give you rotten food, right? So why do you let them understand toxic thoughts in your head without filter? How we apply this in daily life filters the information you really consume. You need to watch the news every 5 minutes. What good is it to fill yourself with negative information that you can't even change? Inform yourself, yes, but without allowing that to poison your mental state. Clean your social circle. There are people who only know how to complain and see the bad in everything. You don't need to eliminate them from your life, but you can reduce the time you or change the subject when they start with their negativity. Surround yourself with content that inspires and motivates you instead of spending hours watching toxic content on social networks. Look for things that really bring you philosophy, history, personal development. Your mentality is the reflection of what you consume daily. Think in your mind like a garden. If you fill it with garbage, don't expect flowers to grow. But if you water it with powerful ideas, with thoughts that strengthen you, with knowledge that lifts you up, then negativity will have no room to grow. So start today. Do a mental cleansing. Decide what you let in and what you leave out, because at the end of the day, you are the guardian of your own peace.